The plans that are submitted online at the moment are plans that where the end result is a building permit, right? So when customers submit online, their end result is going to be a building permit. Previously, we had just building plans. If somebody wanted to submit online, they could, but it was only building plans. Now, of course, and we had been doing some tweaks and modifications for getting plans to Public Works, right? You'd all been downloading the civil sheets or civil plans or the civil PDF, um, and then marking it up in Adobe Acrobat. And so now we're incorporating that into doing that all in Bluebeam, and all the people online, all the you know all your plan check comments and what have you are going to be submitted back with building comments and all back into the customer website, as you can see here. So and then hopefully soon enough, fire is going to even be brought into this this picture, and so fire is going to be even doing plan check in here as well. So everybody, it's going to be a whole coordinated effort, and the customer is only going to have to submit to one place, to here, to this what we call kind of the permit center, and they will submit here, and all departments will be able to mark up and on plans and comment, and the customer only has to go to one place to get their plans back. So this is the customer website. I will just log in to show you just briefly what the customer sees. I know planning and building have been logging in and creating accounts just so they can talk intelligently about what the customer is seeing. And it is a very simple website. Some customers get lost. There's not much going on here really. So there's two things here. There's an applications page, which is just this mirrors the paper process, right? They submit an application over the counter, and so just like that, they submit an application through the website. Once they submit an application, it becomes a project, and we start plan checking it, and we have this back and forth. They submit plans to us, and we plan check it. We give it back to them. They go make corrections, and they submit it back. So, but it never goes. When we're doing that back and forth, it never goes back into the application phase. So, that's what these two buttons, how it divides up the projects. So, this right here, I'm looking at an application, and you can see the status over here on the right says it's incomplete. It's just an application that I started, and it's just sitting there waiting for me to submit it. If I click over to projects is what the customer is going back and forth with, right? They have all their projects, whether it be in plan check, whether it be an issued status, or in this case, the one on the screen is a finaled. So they'll have the whole history of everything they've submitted to the city. And if I click in here, there, you can see that this is just basic project information: where it is, who's the owner, what the type of project was, that it went through a plan check. It just had one submittal, and that one submittal was approved, and then it even had inspections and what they paid. So it's very, very simple. If this was, I can actually go and change this. If this permit was for Amazon River, was in an issued state or a plan check state, there'd be a big blue button right here next to plan check. And maybe I can go, let's see, I can go and manipulate that data. 2020, the permit number is 2020-1589. Find 2020-1589. And let me just manipulate this for argumentative purposes. I'll change this to an issued. So let's say this solar panels was issued. If I come back to the customer account, I'll refresh this page. And so now their status says issued, and this big blue button says request plan check. So even if they're in a issued, if the project's been issued, the permit's been issued, they still have revisions, so they still may need to request a plan check when it's issued. Otherwise, I'll manipulate this again and change this to, and this would be Karen or the permit techs manipulating this. So I'll just change this for purposes. And so now it's in plan check state, and you'll see this over here in the customer's account changes to plan check. So when I'm in here, I'm in the permit system here, and this is live data, right? This is your live permit system, and the customer sees live changes in their account. So you can see that they had a plan check, and so this is this project is obviously finalized, And I'll go back and change that now. But this is what we see inside City Hall, and this permit screen, and the customer sees this in their account, and so they see, and so now that plan check button's gone, because you can't resubmit plans for a project that's final. So there's some logic there on the website that knows when and when not to accept plans. So this is I'll go. That was on the projects, and that was on this Amazon River, this project here. I'm gonna click over to applications, and this is my incomplete application, and this is essentially an application that would be filled out on over the counter, right? It just mirrors. They can submit any kind of plan online, right? So new commercial, new multifamily, anything. So a lot of this is related to building and planning. But if they had a new commercial, right? This new commercial, new commercial would likely have offsites, likely have civil sheets. Even multifamily might have some kind of water or sewer going along with it, and need to go to Public Works, water sewer department, right, to set meters and make sure I don't know, that they have a trunk line or something like that, some kind of sewer tap. So this is just what the customer sees. It's a basic application, just like the paper that goes online. They fill out basic information. I'm just scrolling down, or you can click over here on this left side, and it's the site scrolls. Scroll down to project documents. This is where they upload documents. They can drag and drop plans, or they can go search for them. Typical stuff you see on a website, right? When you're filling out some kind of application, and then they would submit the application. All that, after they submit the application, the permit techs get an alert, and so they'll get an email, automatic email, and the email comes over in this. It's in this application area, and so the permit tech gets an opportunity to. Is this just like when they're coming over the counter? The first thing a permit tech does is open up the plans, make sure it's a full submittal, make sure it's legible, the plans are legible, make sure all sorts of things. They just do a cursory check of for an application, right? That it's complete, that it's legible, all sorts of stuff. So they come over here, and then it's not, at this point, it's still an application. You can see it says application number 1648. If it's incomplete, the permit tech sends it back and says fix A, B, C, and D. And if not, they accept it into the permit system, where it becomes a permit like this, right? Where it becomes something in this, and it gets accepted. And now once it's in this state, it becomes gets a project number, permit number. It can actually be distributed out for plan check. Okay. So that's kind of like how a customer gets plans in. So let me go to a plan check. So once it's become it's been accepted by the permit techs as a complete submittal, they will now go through the process of starting to send it out to the plan checkers, and I'll come back and I'll do that here. I'll do that I'll show you. So if I was going to, I'll say sent, if I was acting as the permit tech, as Mark or Karen, I'd say sent from Mark and to department. I'm gonna say I have a demo in here for me, just so it's going to be sent to me, but for you all, it's going to be sent to your department. Public Works. Let's see who's all in here. Gino, Gustavo, Terry, Joseph, and so we need to, and so I probably need to put Ramsey in here, and whoever else. We need to Marco in here. Probably need to put Marco in here, and so you all need to figure out again how this is going to be distributed. Karen or Mark's just going to distribute this out to Public Works, and then you all need to figure out how this works. I think Regino and I once talked about it going to Regino or Kyle or even Terry, and then you all maybe come in here. And well, the options are endless, right? We could blast it all by department, and it sends it out to everybody, and then everybody kind of figures out. The water department figures out who's going to do the plan check. Water department figures out even if they need to plan check it. and then or we could send it out to to Regino, to Kyle, to whoever, and then they decide, oh, this has water, this has sewer, this has streets, and then I have a separate public works line item in here for public works streets, public works sewer, public works water. So, and then they can come in here and assign it. So figure out, there are a bunch of options. And we can just over the next week kind of work through those and figure out how you want to do it. And if we figure out we don't like those options and we don't like how that's distributed, then we change it. It's pretty flexible. It's not set in stone. But yeah, we'll work through that in the next week or so as this comes online.
We'll talk and figure out a way, and then we'll let you know.
Yeah, great. And you guys can manipulate. You don't have to. You don't even need to involve me if you don't want to. I mean, it's simple as adding another. Clicking the add button and putting public works, streets, and then you put Regino in here and you put, Kyle, and it separates it by a return. You put their emails in here, right? So it's just return separated. So you guys can figure out.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. You guys can figure out, how you want. And then once you close this, public works streets is in here, right? It's in, so you go put it in this list. This list button here is not to select it, it's to add it. It's to put it in that drop down. So then once you come back here, public works streets are in that. So yeah, you don't even really need me if you don't want to. You guys can manipulate this list just as easy. So I'll select me. I'm gonna select, if you wanted to, for electronic purposes, it has to be Bluebeam Studio, right? You don't send it. The Bluebeam Studio, by this Bluebeam Studio selection, is the only selection that generates an automatic email. All the others the system doesn't generate an email. And our thought process was, well, why do you need an automatic email if you're being hand delivered the plan, right? You physically have the plan. So the only one that, because it's electronic, because it's in the cloud, and you don't have any physical plan sets, the Bluebeam selection is the only one that generates the automatic emails. All right. So then you just decide on the trade. I'm going to say building and the due date. The first check is 10 days, of course. And if you have any special, special comments, you can put comments in here, and these comments will go in the automated email that goes out. Okay, so that's how the Permit Tech will distribute the plan. Or if you guys decide a different workflow, this is how this bar, you can see there's a gray bar down the side. These are the comments is not required, but the rest of the fields here are required. And this is what this bar shows you what you're required to enter in at this phase. Okay, so I'm gonna click save, and it's gonna ask me, do you want to send to Bluebeam Studio now? And I'm gonna say yes. And what it's doing in the background is now sending these PDF plans over to Bluebeam, creating a folder, creating the plan check one, the first submittal folder, and then and also sending me an automated alert, which I should get right here. All right, so here's the email that I just got saying, Mark at Fountain Valley has requested you check these plans for building review by this date. You saw me type in the blah, blah, blah. That's the comments. And here's the basic information about the project. Okay, so now there's three links down here. I don't know how, a lot of people, and let me say that I use my email as kind of my to-do list. I have a couple to-do lists. I use my inbox as a to-do list, and I use another app as a to-do list. So what this email, these links here, can help you use this email as your to-do list, that you have something to do. And this is one way, and I'll show you another way later, that you can get into this project. So using Bluebeam, this link right here will launch a browser, and then the browser will say, hey, do you want to launch Bluebeam? And you say yes. These other two links down here, one says open in CityTech Permits, and one says open in CityTech Permits for the web. Some of you might be familiar that we used to run an app called FileMaker, and we've transitioned from using that app to now a browser-based permit system. So this link on top is to launch that app-based. I know Derek and maybe Karen, some people are still using the app, but but for your all purposes, you won't use this top link. You don't have the app, and so you're going to click this link here to launch the permit system. But for your first line of your first task is to, of course, you get this email and you say, okay, I'm gonna go plan check it. And you just click this link. And as I said, it opens a browser and says, okay, Bluebeam Studio, what do you want to do it? You all have Revu loaded on your computers, okay? Drawings for Web is a new Bluebeam product. It is it's like a field product. It's a thing for construction folks in the field. It doesn't do annotation on the plan yet. It doesn't do markups. It's more of a field tool to look at plans. I'm hoping that at some point they keep evolving the drawings for web and it's all browser based. But at this time, Revu is where we will go to annotate on the plans. If you're not familiar with Revu, and I'll go ahead and click on this. I'll click allow. It says the browsers now have, for security reasons, ask, are you sure you want to open it in Bluebeam? You say yes. Some browsers, I think Chrome, maybe Edge, have a little checkbox down here. I'm using Safari at the moment. Edge and Chrome ask you if you want the browser to remember this selection. So go ahead, feel free to click it, and you won't click the check to remember this selection box, and you won't get this question every time. Okay, so my light went off, but so now I'm in. It launched. So that launched Bluebeam for me, and now I'm being asked to log in. I believe you all should have. We're invited to get an account. I'm gonna log into my CityTech Solutions account. This is a comment. You see this Revu update in the background. I think since in a week, since Daniel and Lee installed this for you guys, or whoever in IT installed this for you, Bluebeam comes out like just about every month. I mean, they're every other month. They're pretty good at rolling out updates. I'll keep you posted if you really need the update. But most times there was one update at the beginning, like when they first launched 20. This Revu version 20. There was a critical update that needed to happen. They had a couple bug fixes, and so I'll get with when those happen, I'll get with IT and send you all an email and go, we need to install Bluebeam. Otherwise, a lot of these like SharePoint, they're fixing bugs like from SharePoint, which we're not using SharePoint. So this, fixing email, we're converting an Outlook email to PDF. So there's a lot of things we don't need these bug fixes. These don't help us. And so you can skip this version, really. Feel free. And you can see we're on, this is 20.2.5. So throughout the year, and I think they come out with, it's every April, May, I believe they come out with it. So shoot, no, actually I can't remember when they're on a yearly release cycle for their major releases. So, and then you can see they have a bunch of iterations. So you can really skip these versions. And I will tell you when to, or get with IT on when to install an update. So I kind of rabbit trailed there. Let me go back. I'll slide back over to my email. I clicked that link. I went through a few steps, right? And it opened this for me. So you can see the email was for permit 2021-145-1465. And when I click on this Bluebeam link, it automatically opened right into this project, okay? So it opens up a folder. You can see my plan. This is the plan check 1 folder. All this based on the submittal, it will say plan check 1. If it's submittal 2, it'll say plan check 2, 3, 4, 5. How many iterations of the plan check there are, it puts it into folders. Sometimes on your larger projects, you have, they will say if there's a grading or something to that nature, they will have you. Sometimes the plan check 1 is like the complete set, and then maybe plan check 2 is they got confused and only submitted grading plans, and then submittal 3 they went back to their building plan. so you might have to, kind of decipher and look through the plan check folders. If we get, a few iterations down in the plan check 2 or 3, 4, it's usually pretty seamlessly. Like, if they submitted plan check 4, you can look in plan check 3 folder for the corrections, right, that you wrote, for the annotations that you wrote on the plan. But, sometimes it gets a little muddy and they don't always follow normal procedures. And so you might have to, maybe when they did plan check 4, you might have to jump back to plan check 2 to actually see the submittal you need, the corrections you need. If that makes sense. But here in plan check 2, in plan check 1 folder, here are the plans they submit. This was like a solar project. Let's see, this, I jumped, I'm gonna cancel that. So this opens up like this folder, and this plan check 1 folder, of course, the same as this plan check 1 folder here. If I double click on this, it shows me the 2 files that are there. If I click on this arrow, it shows me the drop down here. In Bluebeam, there's usually always about 2 ways to do something. So whether you like to click on this arrow and see the files here, or whether you like to click on this folder, there's always more than one way to do something. And I'll show you, that's with stamps, that's with just about everything. You can there's the menu bar here at the top always has a way, an extra way to do something. There's always, of course, toolbars here to help out, but there's always also, Bluebeam also puts all their tools in this menu up here. So okay, so let's open up the this solar plan, and I will kind of get started. So I thought this was a solar. It says solar, roof mount solar, but what I'm in looks like a pool. Oh, existing pool. Okay, hang on. So these are some really crummy solar plans. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of engineer stamps. Complete plans. So this isn't solar, this is a patio cover. What happened here? I opened the wrong one. There's the solar. Canadian River. Okay. Maybe I clicked on something I shouldn't. There's the solar. Okay. So go over some basics of Bluebeam. There are, for each area, there's always a bar you can hover your mouse over. You can see the blue highlight there, and you can always drag and drop and make your screen real estate, what you need it to be. There's one there, there's one right there. Just kind of hover your mouse over until your cursor changes, and you can always kind of click and drag. Another trick to hide, if you want to hide this for more screen real estate, I'm just going to single click and it disappears automatically. I can go and get that back by single clicking on that blue line again. There's another one here at the bottom. I hover my mouse over here at the bottom right there. I can get this markup list menu down here at the bottom. So, feel free to, click and hold and drag up, or if you want more screen real estate, just click and it hides all of these menus on the left and right. Go down here at the bottom. You can just start over here. You can split screen a lot, and then you have two screens showing the same document. What's helpful? What's a tip here is that sometimes I will want, on a longer plan, I will want, say, my index to show up here on the left, and then I want a plan check here on the right. So if you need to see the sheet index, see where something is, you can see I am this right side is active, and so this bottom here, it shows me on page 1 of 14. And so because this right side is active, if I click the right arrow, it will change the page of this right side. All right. If I highlight and click into this left screen, of course, now I'm on page 1 of 4, and I can change this left side. So I often do a split screen for multiple reasons. I'll have like an older plan open, and also from plan check 2 or 3, and then this may be plan check 4, and so I'll be able to compare if I need to compare. But you can split screen or go back. however you want to do it, and that's pretty helpful. There's other split, vertical split screen, horizontal split screen. You can see this I'm now viewing this as one page, so it's one page per screen, but you can also change it to a continuous scroll if you like a continuous scroll instead. So you can just keep scrolling through the plan. The difference here is if you do this continuous scroll, when you use your scroll wheel, unless you're using the zoom here, you got to be on the zoom for it to zoom. All right. If I click back to the hand and then go back to my one page, Bluebeam automatically assumes, you can see my hand there, but you can see in the corner of the hand there's a magnifying glass. So with your scroll wheel, Bluebeam automatically assumes when you use the scroll wheel you want to zoom. But this function doesn't work the same when you're in continuous scroll. See how the magnifying glass next to my hand cursor is gone, and it's now an up down arrow, and it shows you if you use your scroll wheel, it's going to go up and down. So figure out how you like to do best. If you like to do single, then do it that way, and then use your left right arrows here to change the page. Right. You can also highlight in this area. And so we're on page 2 of 14 here at the bottom. I'm just going to hit my 8 key and hit return. So I want to go to page 8. I know I want to go to page 8. And so you can use that to jump to any page. Highlight in here, go to page 14. I'm going to go to the last page, and there I'm on page 14. Okay. So I'm going to click all the way so that you can use this to jump anywhere you want. I'm going to click all the way back to the first page. Okay. So the hand tool, of course, is your pan, so you can click and hold and drag it around the screen. Your selector tool, so selection is more and I'll show you, you'll use the selector tool more after for markups when you need to select a markup, and I'll show like a cloud or an arrow that you drew. You can highlight text if it's OCR'd, and of course a zoom tool. And if you like, you can, if you're a person that keeps like your left hand on the keyboard, the hand tool is Shift V. So if you hold if I click Shift V, it automatically changes to the hand. If I just click the V, it changes to my pointer. And if I change to what's the magnifying? Is it Z? Z, yeah. So Z. So now I can automatically click between Z, V, and Shift V, V, and Z to quickly get to those tools. So you don't have to come all the way down. Saves you half a second to come down here. But some people, I always keep my left hand on my keyboard to do especially word editing, like do Control Z, Control C, Control paste, copy, undo, right? And so that's kind of what those keyboard shortcuts are for. Okay, so let's I'll go dive into this toolbar here on the left and on the right here in a second. Again, you can, if you want to go to document, as I said in Bluebeam, there's always more than one way to do something, right? So we went over these buttons here at the bottom, and we went over split screen. Split screen is also right here, right? There's split screen here. There's vertical continuous scroll here, side by side. So you can do a lot of different. I go to hit the Z key. Oops, no, I want the Shift V key. There we go. And you can get 2 pages on the screen at one time. So if you need 2 pages, you can do that. So there's a lot of ways. Again, this whole view menu, there's a lot of ways to do the same things that we were doing down here at the bottom. Okay, so let me jump into plan check. So plan check, let me go back to a single page. We'll do single page and zoom in here. So the way that our current software works is it is a shared document. So like a Word document on your city server, only one person can open it at a time. We're looking at other avenues to make it a collaborative. Bluebeam can do collaborative, and we don't have that quite yet. We're looking into it. There's pluses and minuses of doing it collaboratively. And there's pros and cons, right? So we're weighing the pros and cons of whether we want our software to be collaborative or just check in, check out single user at one time, kind of like that shared document. So yeah, there's definitely pluses and minuses. We're weighing those right now. So we're this a shared document. You can only one person can check it out at a time. So the way you do that is you see a lock here in the upper left-hand corner. This is, of course, the tabs. I can click on the tabs up here to go back forth between things. You can tell that you don't have, it's not checked out at the time. It's not you, even though you're viewing it, you can't, the lock means you can't annotate on it yet. You can't mark it up. And so the way you check it out from the server is you just single click and check out. Now what that's doing is that's pulling it down from the cloud onto your local onto your computer, and then unlocking it. And you saw a flash there happen. So now, and my icon changed up here. So now you can draw on the plan. Let me do that again. I will undo checkout, and the lock goes back to the lock. Let me tell you something. So over here on the right side are all my tools. And the only tools that are available for me to use right now while it's locked and not checked out are the measuring tools. I can't, you see typical, if you're familiar with Adobe Acrobat, you can draw a text box. It's the same thing. This Bluebeam is Adobe Acrobat on steroids. It's got a ton more features than Adobe Acrobat. And you can draw clouds and all sorts of things, but all my tools over here are grayed out. I can't use them at the moment. The way they light when I check out the document, and let me check it out a different way this time. I'm gonna close that. I'm going to single click on this file here. Excuse me, you have to right click on. So it's when you have it open in this tab, it's a single left click here to get that menu. When you're over in the list menu, it is a single right click to bring up this menu, and you can see the checkout is there. There's other things you can do. You can download this copy if you want to do it offline and you want to open it up in Adobe Acrobat, or however you want to take it with you somewhere. You can download a copy of it. Feel free to download a copy of it. There's other tools here for you to do. So I right clicked. Let me click off that. I right clicked on here, and I'm going to check it out. This is going to say now it's checked out. You can see my icon change. It changed to a little paper document. And if I hover over that little circle, it says it's checked out. And if it was checked out by somebody else, it would tell you the email address for that person who has it checked out. So if you try and go do this plan check and you say it doesn't have, it says it's checked out by somebody and you can't check it out, then hover over this little icon and it will tell you who, and you can go kind of bug them going, hey, are you done? Or are you going to be done in an hour or two? And so that I can work on this plan. And sometimes people accidentally, they leave the shared document open, right? They go home for the day and they forgot to save it back to the server. This will also, or maybe they're gone to lunch, or they're out sick. You can find out who it is. If that person is gone sick, something happened, they left, you can actually get Derek or Karen to force it back in, to check it back in for you. Derek and Karen have admin privileges to do that. It's called a force check-in. And so they can actually, if something happens and something happened to that person and they're not actually physically working on it, you can have Derek or Karen check it back in for you. One caveat to that is if you haven't saved your changes, their force check-in will erase all of your markups. So I'll show you in a second how to save your markups often back to the cloud. If it's a big plan, if it's a small plan, right, and you're only going to be in it for an hour, maybe it's not a big deal to not save your changes. But if it's a longer plan, you'll want to send those markups back up to the cloud often. So I've got it checked out, and this didn't, when I right clicked on it and checked it out, it didn't open the file. So now I'm going to double click on it, and now it's open. It says this document contains untitled viewpoints which may interfere. So some architects leave layers open. And so what this is telling you is that they have left viewpoints open. Would you like to remove them? I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. it doesn't really affect the document. I haven't found it to interfere with anything, or I just say no. Okay, so when I checked it out, now you see my tools over here on the right-hand side are no longer grayed out. They are highlighted and they're available for me to use. You can see that this document is not a lock, it's checked out. And so now you're free to, start marking up on the plan. And so, you can draw a typical text box and, I'll do that and just say blah, blah, blah. You can typical other tools you're probably familiar with. You can highlight, you can draw a pen tool, all sorts of. This is you can draw a cloud. You can draw a call out, which is a box, a leader line with a text box attached to it. And then my favorite tool though is this Cloud Plus right here. It's this, you can see it's a little cloud with a leader line and with a text box. So let me show you what Bluebeam is doing with these markups. So this is a text box. This is a cloud, what's it called? A call out. And then this was just my pen tool that I just scribbled on. If I'm gonna go down here, and I brought this menu up here earlier, I'm gonna click on this blue line down here and bring up my markup list. What Bluebeam does is it records. It's like it's got a recording on you right now. It's recording all of your markup actions. All the markups you make are here. Let me flip a page, and I'm gonna draw my favorite tool, which is a Cloud Plus. So the Cloud Plus is you draw. It's going to draw. The first thing it's going to do is going to draw a cloud. So I'm going to draw I want to highlight my cloud here, and then it's going to once I release the mouse, it goes into a leader line, and so now I can make a leader line. And it's when I like the location, I'm going to click again, and then it automatically jumps me into the text box, and I can now type. So, and then click out of the text box, and we have what's called a Cloud Plus. So what Bluebeam does, and this is my favorite tool. This is my favorite tool because Bluebeam, as you see down here at the bottom, Bluebeam records all of your markups. It records an arrow tool. It records. So if I just drew an arrow here, and then drew a cloud here, and then drew a text box inside the cloud, it drew that, it recorded that as 3 markups. So you can see my text box here, my pen here, down at the bottom, my text box. And when I click on these, you can notice the plan page changes and goes right to that markup. So I clicked on the text box. I'm gonna click on the cloud, and that's gonna jump to this cloud here. Click on the cloud, it jumps there, and I'm gonna click on the arrow. That was 3 markups to do that one thing, but the Cloud Plus records just one. It's just one thing, right? So it's one item in the list down here. So I like the Cloud Plus because, and I'll show you in a minute, it only records one. It records that as one thing, one layer, not 3. So I'm going to, if you can, again, going back down here to the list, if you click on any of these, it jumps you to the page that markup's on. So if you get, if you get a big plan set and you can't find a certain markup that you made, come here to the markup list, filter by author, and I'm going to, where's that? I think I can type in here and put Mark, and all the list will filter by Mark. I click off the filter list, and I guess if I had there are any other authors in here, it would, there we go. Oh, click on the column heading. So if there were more authors in here, meaning, so you're going to have, Regino's going to be an author, and then maybe Marco is going to be an author, and then Derek. So everybody's going to have their markups in here, right? And so if you just needed to find your markups that you were only interested, you could filter by, just like, hey, I only want to see mine. You can do that, and all in this list. Then, so when you do a recheck, you can quickly come to just your markups, right? and then just click on those markups and it will jump to the page that it's on. So, and I'll click off the filter list for that. So I like the Cloud Plus. It's my favorite tool. Now let's talk about a little bit about customizing this tool. I recommend that you all, for maybe the different departments, grab, do your own colors. So maybe building is red. Maybe when fire gets in this, they are, I don't know, you can choose your own colors, and you can even do an eyedropper and do more than just these colors in here. And use RGB. You can get crazy. But I would recommend that, let's say Public Works wants to be green. And so everything on this, so that was my leader line. Let's change the cloud. Oops, click on the cloud. And then over here next to the cloud, I want to change the cloud color to be lime green. And then I'm gonna click, it's still selected. So my text is hidden over here. And so if you saw that, there's an arrow up here in the upper left. Now there's an arrow up here in the upper right. And so if you don't have the screen real estate, Bluebeam hides those menus. And so you just hover over those arrows. And so now I've got a completely green Cloud Plus and completely green markup. And so you will want to, once you guys find your rhythm in this, develop your own colors. And you don't even have to. If you don't want to, it's fine too. But it helps. It will help your rechecks. It might help your clients. Say, okay, everything that Regino's got is, purple. I don't know. So develop those. Once you develop those, actually, I'll come back to that point when I talk about the tool chest. So we've done a markup, and now let's keep going down this list of items. So I did the Cloud Plus. I showed you a cloud call out. Stamps we'll come back to in a minute. You can drop images right on the document. So if you have a standard detail that you like, Derek does this well. Derek has a detail for what we call a foot vent. It's a type of venting that for kitchens and their islands. The islands in a kitchen, and when the island in a kitchen has a sink, there's a venting detail that he likes to see on the plan. And a lot of people just leave it off, and then it goes to construction, and the contractor maybe is a novice and just doesn't know how to do this kind of foot vent. And so, but Derek just uses the image and has the image, right on his desktop or wherever he keeps it on his computer, and then just pastes it on the plan. So rather than having, if you had to send a plan back to the customer for one detail, Derek has a kind of like I think he's got kind of a few of those details that are just standard to him, that he likes to see, and that he will place it right on the plan. There's other line tools, arrow tools, arcs. I forget what this one is. It's a poly, so you can draw polygons, squares, circles. Anyway, let's get down here to some of the measuring tools. All right, let's see. Are any of these to scale? Probably not. But that might be good. The last couple demonstrations. Is this one to scale? This one, yeah. This one has a 330 seconds to 1 foot. So we can actually verify this measurement. You can actually verify a measurement on a plan that is to scale or not to scale. So like, let's click on, this is the length tool here, and I'm going to click on that. I'm going to kind of ignore this for a minute. And Bluebeam likes to snap. It likes to find, if you can, right here, it wants to snap to a corner. If I move my mouse up to a little bit, it likes to try and find that right angle and snap to it. So you just hover your mouse over and snap to where you want to measure, and then click, and then draw my line, and I want it to snap onto the other side. Now it's going to say, do you want to calibrate this or do you want to input it? So the calibrate means, do you want to tell Bluebeam what that measurement is, or do you want to say, hey, I know the input, I know the scale, and we know the scale is 330 seconds. 3/32 to 1 foot. So I'm going to, in this case, I know the scale. I'm going to put input, and then I'm going to choose, and there it is. So most, has typical scales. And so we're going to say 3/32 to 1 inch, 1 foot, apply the scale. And yeah, that's pretty close. So they said that was 55. They did scale this. This was fit. They said that's 55, and we're what, a 1/4 inch off. So Bluebeam probably over here. If I zoom in, no, that's pretty good. They're right on the line. Where's my? Did I get? Excuse me. So yeah, Bluebeam was pretty rock right on. I mean, so you can, but at a 1/4 inch for 55 feet, that's pretty right on, right? You're just using the measuring tool to double check that they're in the ballpark, that they're not trying to snow you with this measurement. So that's how we use the scale. Excuse me, the input. We inputted the measure. If we come over to, maybe if I go to that second page, where was, and so here they're saying that this dimension is 10 foot 1 inch, but there's no scale here. So I'm gonna click here, and now I'm gonna calibrate it. So I'm going to tell, it says select 2 point, oh, bummer. Select 2 points, known at dimension, okay. Well, I'm gonna tell it that this to here is, what am I gonna do? Custom, I don't know what that is. Let's see, precision scale, precision, enter the distance. Yeah, preset. No, custom. This should be feet, inches. That's not inches, it's feet. Oh, I see. I got to enter it here. Sorry. See how much I do this? 10 inches, 10 foot, 1 inch. Okay, so that it drew, this was, whatever this was, this was there, 1.6. I'm telling it this dimension equals 10 foot 1 inch. And there you go. And so actually that, now if I draw another line, here, and we're going to say, and you can see my my ruler's already scaling that out. That's 10 foot 1 inch. So it's saying that, hey, there's two, you told us a dimension, and now we know what the scale is. So if I go here and do it again, this should be 19.2 here to here. Yeah, pretty close, 19.2 1/4. So now we've scaled the ruler to the plan without having a known scale. So you can use the rulers that way. You can if it's scaled, which most for public works folks, you'll definitely have a scale on the plan. But if you don't, if they say NTS not to scale or whatever, then you can calibrate the ruler to that to make sure that they're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes and give you some crazy dimensions. Okay.
Question. So does each user has to calibrate it, or is it just a one-time thing?
Yeah, it's by user, right? This is local. Okay. This is local to yours. Yeah. So, I don't know, but you see how fast I did it, right? It kind of Bluebeam walks you through it. So, you can also, if I click, I haven't gone over this sidebar yet, but this cogwheel is the properties. If I click on that and then click on my measuring tool, I believe I can tell it to forget the scale. Options, layout, where's my, excuse me, sorry, here, the ruler, there we go. Not the properties, the ruler. So if you want to change, rather than using Bluebeam, if you need to calibrate it again, or I think it's by page, it's even by page. So yeah, so it changed by page. So if this page had a scale and it knows that it's 1 inch to 1 foot or whatever, this this scale we already did was 1/4 inch precision. If I click over here, it knows that this 10 foot 1, it already has that as 1.6 inches is 10.1, type thing. So you can monkey with these again, and you can, of course, calibrate your tool all over again if you need to. Just click the calibrate button and it will erase what it knows. All right. So, see, Matt, you're probably familiar with some of these. I'm sure you might do some area calcs, right, for rooms and lot coverage and different things. I mean, there's tools. I think this is an area one. Oh, this is a polygon one. So you can even do crazy polygons if you need to. And of course, it's using that same scale that I'd set it to. There's other, again, if I go to tools up here and go to measure, all your measuring tools are up here. Your other measuring, again, there's multiple ways that there's, oops, get out of that. There's other your measuring tools are all here if you're under the measuring. So there's like 3-4 different ways to find measuring tools. If you want to, and use the different way if you need radiuses, diameters, different kind of areas, those types of things. So feel free to check those out and play with those. So we went over, so we're done with this stuff here on the right. Let me go over stamps. Stamps is really easy to create. Oops, what happened there? Let's go to, so you can click on the stamp button here and click on the right arrow, down arrow, and it will bring up all your stamps. And Bluebeam has all these developed stamps. I don't like them. But they load every time you do. So I'll drop one here. You can go over to properties and delete it. I don't delete it from my list. I don't need preliminary, right? That's more of a architect type, construction type one. So if you need to delete a stamp, right click on it, click delete. And so now that preliminary shouldn't be in my list, I don't think. Yeah, it's gone from my list. That's a little touchy. So again, here's another stamp, and we'll just delete it. Go to properties, go to delete it. And this is just me housekeeping. Okay, so now creating a stamp. So again, you can right click on here and come down to the bottom and it says create a stamp, and that menu all the way at the bottom. You can import stamps from other computers if you need to, or if you all have the same kind of like for building, we use stamps like please design your plans to the 2019 building code, or must have smoke detectors. We create stamps for all of those. So and anything you're going to be placing on your plan consistently, create a stamp for it. So you just you have it. Up here in the bottom, there's another way to find Bluebeam stuff. There's stamps up here under tools. And so let's go to create stamp. Stamp, this is going to be my public works approval. Some people like having approval stamps, some people like having that just that they reviewed it, right? So maybe you have a review stamp that just shows you reviewed it, put your name on it, who reviewed it. Maybe have a separate stamp for approval. Author is me, and then here's a template. You can just have a blank template and create your own stamp. I like to start off with a text and date and border. And so I'm going to use that, for example, and do that. I'm going to do something like 3 inches by 2 inches. And blend mode, I want to keep it normal. Don't ignore blend mode. Opacity, I want the background to be, I want the background to show throughout my stamp to be, not have any background to it. Rotation, I'm going to ignore that for a moment. Font color, if you like your, create your stamps. If you like your stamps to be, Derek uses, I think on resubmittals, Derek uses like a green for his stamp. He might use green for all of them. So, again, choose your own. I'm going to just leave it red font, red color. And that brings me to here. Okay. So now I'm off and just, again, creating my own stamp. I'm doing the font sizes I want. Derek for his signature, I'm going to put another text box out here. Derek does something. Derek uses a font, comes up here and chooses like a font that's like a signature font, right? And so where's that script? he chooses something like that and then turns it green. So you can do all sorts of text. Oops, I tried to copy. I'm gonna copy this and paste it and do some more text. More text, and then change this. So feel free to change your stamps, and you can't really go wrong. However, if you like to mock up your exact stamp that you have for your physical stamp, do it. Whatever you like to do. I'm gonna put a line down here, so it's like a signature line, and then I'm gonna do kind of click and drag, and I copy that real fast, and then we'll put by. Click out of that and do shorten it, shrink it down, and then put this down here like that. Okay, so and then we'll reduce this font size down to something. Okay, so what this is at the bottom is these are dynamic, and again, this is not very pretty, but you guys all get the gist. So there's a line weight up here. I don't like this thick border, so I'm going to reduce the line weight down to about 1. I could choose a dash line if I want to be cute. And so that's a stamp. Here in this text box. So when I click into a text box, I double click into a text box, and now my cursor is highlighted. You'll notice that this box here it says dynamic. I'm going to hit return key. I'm going to click into this dynamic, and I'm going to put user. And so you can see that the dynamic fields are when you place this stamp, it pulls the information from Bluebeam. So my user is Mark Abbott, right? So if I come up here to review, you can see if I go to preferences, the user right here in my preferences says Mark Abbott. If you don't like your user, down here at the bottom, you see the author down here in the bottom list. That's where it gets this from. Is this in the preferences? So if you just like your first initial last name, do that, and then everything down here in the bottom will just be M Abbott rather than Mark Abbott. And what appears here in this dynamic field will also be just M Abbott. It'll pull from that preference. I'll show that again. I went to review and went to preferences, and it's right there at the top under general preferences. All right. So that's what these dynamic, you have, in order to engage that dynamic pull down, you have to double click into the text box and then click on the dynamic. And you can do, if you want the seconds that you place the stamp, if you want the month, the day, some people just want the day. I don't know, whatever you like on your stamp. I also do something else. Rather than Derek uses just that, and that's easy, just putting your name on it with some kind of script to make it look like a signature. I go kind of a step further. I'll right click and delete that. I scanned my signature just using the scanner at the front. I will use I scan it in as a JPEG or a PNG, and when I scan it, it puts in a background. Let me I'll show you on my computer. So when I scan my signature, where is it? Images, and down here at the bottom. So I have a signature here, and this is my signature, and this has a background to it. All right. And what I did was I went to a website. Where's my browser? I went to a website called Remove BG, and I dragged that signature file right onto this website. And what it produced was this. Was my signature without a background. It's not perfect, right? You can still see some white, but it's good enough for these purposes, right? And so I have taken my signature and I scanned it. I took it to that website, remote.bg. And now I told you about images that you can place on Bluebeam. And so you can either go over here and click image. Let's see, click on that. And it asks you what you want to do. Let's see, go to my remove BG. And now I can place it. What happened there? It didn't place it. Do that again. Click on it, open it, and oh, I got to drag. There we go. I got to drag it across. There you go. I clicked to place it. Okay. So you got to drag it. You got to let me do this another again. There's another way to do it. Bluebeam. You can go to Tools, Markup, Image, and From File. So you see that the mountains kind of, that's the same as over there on this right hand side, right? It's the same little icon. So again, you can do that. Place an image on anywhere on a Bluebeam with that, or over here, Image, From File. Again, I'm gonna put my signature, and I have to click, drag across, and then let up. And there you go. Now I have my signature on my stamp. If I did the other one, if I did the one with the background, and so you can see the line behind it, right? The signature line, it can be seen through my signature. But if let me show you where to go. It's Markup, Image, From File, and I'll show you what my other signature. So signature, this one, drag across. And so now because it has a background, it hides stuff. So if you want to go that route, it's up to you. I kind of like it. Other people just use just a script. Okay, so that's it. That's it for a stamp. You guys can play with other stuff. Save it, and it saves it as Public Works approval. And now in my stamps, I have, that menu's touchy. There we go. I have a Public Works approval stamp in my list. All right. So let's go back. Let's close this. I'll click on the X, and I'll come back to, let's say this solar plan was approved. I will click on the arrow, Public Works approval, and now it gives me crosshairs, and it wants me to drag my stamp out across. All right, and there we go. I do a couple things here on stamps. I like to place my stamps across some kind of line on the drawing. And then I also like to, if I'm on the properties menu over here, I also like to rotate it just a bit. See there's this rotate feature down here. I'm gonna click 1, 2, rotated about 2 degrees. And now it's rotated, and it's just off kilter just a bit. Years ago, I got pulled into a deposition where they took before electronic plan check, they photocopied my stamp off a plan and pasted it onto the plan they were trying to do. And these lawyers it was shady. And I was in a deposition. I was like, that's my stamp, but that's not, I didn't review that plan. It was, the building official prior from another company. I'm like, so they were dirty. But anyway, so I always like to place my stamp across a line and rotate it just a hair. So when I see it on a plan, and if it's rotated just off center, just a little bit, I know that they haven't messed with it. And 99% of the time, most people don't mess with stamps, but they can. So that's the stamp. And so you can do, if you want to stamp multiple pages, you can place the stamp on every page, or you can right click on the stamp and come down to apply to all pages. And then you can choose what pages to apply it to, right? So you can here's another trick. If you just want to apply it to all even pages, that's another trick. Because then if they try and rip off your stamp, they're going to apply it to all pages, right? They're not going to be, so if you come up with your own, method, if you are worried about this stuff at all, and you can apply your stamp to whatever page you want and whatever method you want. And so I can click OK, and it now applies it to all pages. One problem with that is if I click to the next page, look, it put my stamp right in the middle of the electrical line diagram, which the inspector needs to see in the field. So you might want to check and move it. This one page is not a good one. That's a pretty good one. Different places have, sometimes you get lucky that there's a signature block over on the right side of the page that gives you, a place for a stamp. Go ahead and utilize that type of thing. So that's how you apply it to all pages, or you can just, if you're just a front page kind of person, then just apply it to the front page. So that's stamps. How much time we're at? We're at, goodness. Okay, so we're getting Yeah, I said 11. We're about right. Okay. So earlier I mentioned that it's a good idea to save stuff. So when you're in plan check, if you're in a, we just been plan checking. A solar plan check is pretty simple. It's not that big a deal that you save your changes for, for building at least. If I click on this icon up here again, where the lock was, and now this icon shows that it's checked out. Click left, just single left click on it. It gives me some options. It gives me check-in, update server copy, undo checkout. So of course, undo checkout, if I don't, I'm going to do that in a second. I don't want to save any of my changes I've made to this plan. So I'm going to undo the checkout. I'm going to send it back without, and all my markups are going to be gone. I purposely want to undo that. But if you want to save your markups, you're in the middle of the plan and you want to, you're not ready to check it back in, but you want other people, so other people can, on their computer, can view these documents, right? They just can't, when you have it checked out, they can't check it out and mark up on it, but they can view it all day long. And so maybe your workflow is, maybe you don't like to mark, maybe you never mark up on a plan. Some people don't, and they just use a correction sheet, right? They just have a Word document next to their plan check. And so some people don't, they say, page, they just, in their Word document, their comment letter, they just say page so-and-so, fix this measurement, or, fix this grade. I don't, what have you. So some people don't even mark up on, or don't even need to check out these. You got to, whatever your workflow is, however you work best as a plan checker, maybe you don't need to check out the plan. But, you can update the server copy. You can send these markups back for others to see if you want. So that's what update server copy is. Check it back in is, of course, you're done, you're saving it. If I click check in, it will ask me if I want to save my changes. And it will say, do you want, check in, no, cancel. And then, or I could do that update server copy. I'm going to undo, undo the checkout. And so it won't save any of my changes. And so my stamps and everything's gone. Okay. Let's see. So if I had, let's check it back out. And let's make one or two comments on it. Checked it out. Let's put my Cloud Plus back on it. Oh, I got to do two things. Okay, here's the one thing first. So I'm going to do my Cloud Plus. And I mentioned earlier about you coming up with your own Cloud Plus and your own colors and your own styles. Maybe as a way to differentiate yourself, you like to use, I don't know, a different font, so maybe that's your font. And maybe this is your, let's change, maybe go over here and change it to, maybe you like purple, and change the purple and purple, or we'll do, purple. Okay. So you now have your Cloud Plus, and maybe this is your Cloud Plus. Maybe let's click back in that text box. Let's just delete that text box. This is the Cloud Plus. Oh, let's add a box to that. There we go. So let's add a line. Let's add some align weight to that. So now I have this, and maybe I like my line. Maybe I like my text box dashed. There we go. Okay. So you have this. This is your Cloud Plus. This is dialed into you. What we have, what we have over here is called the Toolbox, and your Toolbox will look something like this. This is the default view for Bluebeam. Okay. So the tool chest, Bluebeam installs, by default, installs a lot of tools. A lot of them we don't use, right? Bluebeam is really a tool, a PDF markup tool that's geared toward the AEC market and the architects, engineers, and contracting, construction market. And so they give you some kind of default tools there on the left, and they preload these. I don't use a lot of these ever, right? I have my own tool chest. So I come up here to the tool chest and I hide a lot of these. I don't want theirs, and I just don't like clutter. So there we go. So I have my own tools that I've created that I like. And so what you do, if you get your own Cloud Plus here, and move that. I like it like that. Or it, it doesn't have to be in the same location. I like this, and I want to put this in my tool chest because I don't want to have to come customize this Cloud Plus every time I want to use it. I don't want to have to change it to purple. I don't have to change it to a dash leader line, a dash box. By default, the Cloud Plus doesn't have a box around the text, right? So I can now come and right click on this, and I can add to my tool chest. And if I had more, I have hidden all the tools, the various types of chests, but it also only my tools is open. I'm gonna click on that and add it right to, and you can see number 11 here is now the purple one I did. So you now don't have to, if I right click on here and delete it, you don't have to come over here and click on the Cloud Plus because it will go right back to the default of red. But if over here, I clicked on the one I want, and it automatically comes with that and creates it purple. And so now I can use that every time. My colors will all be dialed in, and even it remembers the font that I chose. Did you see that? It chose a different font. So highly recommend that. You could even put your stamps over here. And that's one thing to say about stamps. So if I come back here and put my, dang it, there, place my Public Works approval, I can right click on this one also and put it in my tool chest. Add the tool chest. So what stamps just by having them in your stamp list here doesn't mean it follows you from computer to computer. If you change offices, if you change computers, your stamps won't follow you. These stamps are, you can see the by name, it says date.pdf. They are all PDFs, and they are all saved on the computer. So they are computer specific. They are not tied to your email address, your Bluebeam account. What is tied to your Bluebeam account are your tool chest, are your things in your tool chest. So your tool chest will follow you. If you go to, heck, even if you, well, of course, if you move to another city, you wouldn't have the same email address, but just by moving offices, say your computer blew up and IT had to get you a new computer, you will want to save stuff in your tool chest, because just by the stamp being here in this list doesn't mean it's saved to the computer, not to your account. Your tool chest is saved to your account. So I highly recommend that you save items you like to your tool chest. All right, even your stamps. All right, so yeah, so stamps won't follow you unless once you log in on any other computer, and they will be there for you. All right, so that's stamps, that's the tool chest. There's not much over here else to look at on the left. There's a file access. There's some thumbnails. We don't really, some architects leave in all their thumbnails. You don't really have to pay attention to any of this stuff. Layers, and yeah, sometimes files load slower because architects are they're drawing in CAD, right, which is also a vector drawing tool, which is also like Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Illustrator, or some kind of vector drawing tool where they draw on layers, right? Photoshop all has those layering capabilities. Bluebeam is a layered, has these things in layers. So sometimes larger plan sets will load a bit slower, and that's because they're instructed not to leave their layers on or to flatten their image before they submit it, but they invariably don't read the directions. So we went over so you can ignore most of these things. Here's your tool chest. We don't use spaces. Properties you will use, or properties you will use a bit if it's got, based on the tool you select, different properties come up. The ruler, we went over that, and you can explore that. We don't use signatures. We don't use flags. So you can, if the document is OCR'd, if they've optical character recognition, you can even do it yourself, I believe. Can you do OCR? Where's OCR? There's OCR. If you have a big plan set, you can have Bluebeam OCR it for you, right? And so And so you can have it read the entire document. And then if you need it to search, if you need to search for a certain word, it can, so this one is, so you can see like I typed in the word aerial and it brought up a search result. And then if I clicked on that search result, it went right to that word aerial and Bluebeam highlighted that word in blue. So let's see, I can probably do, let's see, 200 amp. Yep. And so the line should dump me to the line diagram. Yep. There's 200 amp on the line. So you can also use, that's a pretty handy tool when you're working through a larger plan set, or you like, hey, I have one last correction and I can't find it, or I don't want to read all the general notes that they leave on the plan. So you can use the search tool to find text on the plan. And that's if it's OCR'd, if it's already been done. Let me go over one more thing here. So if Bluebeam does a, let me click back on my plan list there, get rid of that. Okay, so we've gone over the menu on the menu on the left, menu on the right. Let me show you. Let me go back to the front page where I had some markups. Okay, so you can see down here in the bottom, there's the markup list. I like to use. I sometimes I have a standard comment letter that I sometimes use. I have a standard, depending on the project, I have a commercial one, I have a residential one that I use, and it's in a Word document, right? And I cross out or delete all of the comments that don't apply to a plan check. I also, on smaller plans like this, sometimes I don't need to use my standard comment letters. They're 10 pages long, and I don't want to spend the time of only whittling it down to the comments that they need to take care of. So Bluebeam has a built-in comment letter function called a markup list. And so you can see down here, this is the markup list, and it will take all of these comments and put them on a PDF for you that you can give back to the customer. And I'll show you how you give a document back to a customer in a second. There's again 2 ways to get to this markup list. There's a little up arrow here that's called summary. There's also under batch. If I want a batch summary, it's called not markup. This thing is called a markup summary. And so you can see this same icon is the same one down here. So you don't have to go up to the menu. Click on this little guy, and it'll say, what do you want to summarize these markups in? You can export these markups to Excel. You can export them to CSV or PDF. I like to do a PDF. And if you want these comments, what it does, it's summarizing, it's putting all these comments in this markup list onto a PDF, and it's going to walk you through that. Okay. So, and for argumentative purposes, let me do one more thing. Let me go to preferences and let me change this back to Mark. Let me make one more comment on here. Okay. Oops. Okay. So now you can see in my markup summary, my markup list down below, I have the author of Mark Abbott and M. Abbott. So now I'm going to go, I want to say, okay, I'm done plan checking. This one is good to go. And whether it be approved or corrected, I'm going to create a PDF summary. I'm going to click PDF summary. That's going to bring up this menu. And now I want to put all my markups onto a PDF. And so it walks you through a few steps, and you can explore these. And I have a 5-minute video that walks you through this in more detail. But there's a bunch of columns I have down here at the bottom that I don't need. This one's empty, 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 empty. I want the author on there, but I only want my markups. So I'm gonna come here to the filter, and I'm gonna come to the author, and it gives me, and if there's a lot of plan checkers here, right, it's gonna list all the plan checkers who have made comments. I only want M. Abbott's. I don't want Mark Abbott's comment. Okay. So I want to give the customer back the comments that I made, not the rest of the plan checkers. So I'm going to uncheck everyone but me. I'm going to, you can, of course, search through these. I want all my comments from, I don't know, this most recent, today, so I want today's comments. And I'm going to, I remove some of my columns. You can get rid of these columns. I'll show you how to do it in a minute. and then come back here, and you can actually upload a letterhead from Fountain Valley into here. I've already uploaded a letterhead, a Charles Abbott letterhead, and so I'm gonna click on that pencil, and let's see. You can go find your letterhead, right? This is to go find the letterhead, and then once you've found your letterhead to import, you see the tooltip says import. Once you've imported your letterhead, it puts it in this list. So I have a couple letterheads already in this list, and then I want to edit it, right? And so then I can drag these blue handles out. I don't want the blue handles to be in my letterhead, right? I want the what Bluebeam's going to print out, I want it to be below. I don't want it in my footer. And so I've got that set. So you set these handles to the exact location that you want your markups to appear. And we'll click OK, or I'll click cancel to cancel my changes, but you would click OK. And then I'm going to, I like a medium. It's going to do a thumbnail. You can mess with this. It's going to save it to my summary. I only want it to be, this is, building corrections. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, nope. Oops, take off author. You can even put your author. That's a dynamic field. It will put your author there too. Oh, sure, we can do that. And then we'll click OK. And so now it's creating a comment sheet that is just my markups. Okay. And so it makes the thumbnail, makes a good size thumbnail, makes it, you can choose what you want. Sometimes I don't put the subject on there. They don't need to know what the subject is, but they need to know what page it's on, who did it, what time you did it, and then what the text is. And so this creates a nice, and then I wrote building corrections, and it put the author's name there. So it creates a nice little, especially on a large plan set, on a small solar plan set, you might not need to do this, right? Because it's all of 14 pages. They can find your corrections. They can click through. But on a larger plan set, sometimes this is nice to have for them. Or if your department chooses to do it for everybody, so be it. Great. But you can then, once this is created, so I saved this to the location was saved this to my desktop. Now I want to get this back to the customer. So how does this? So we've marked up the plans, right? We've marked up the plans here. The plans are over on this tab. You can see all their plan sets are here. What is in this folder and what is marked up will go back to the customer. Will eventually go back to the customer. So if you have stamped the plan that as approved or what have you, that will go back to the customer and be in their account on the website I showed you earlier. And they'll have it in a cute little zip file for them to download. And they'll get an email saying, hey, your plans are. And so after everybody's done, Karen will take care of that part. We'll send it back to the customer. But you want anything else in this folder will also go back to the customer. So you would put the markup list that we just made, the comment letter that we just made, you will put it in this folder, in the plan check 1 folder. If there are multiple plan check folders here, make sure you get it in the right one, otherwise they won't get it. So if there's, if you're on plan check 2, 3, 4, make sure you get your plan check markup list you just created into the right one so that it will go back to the customer. So let's do that. So there's, again, multiple ways to do that. I'm going to, you can click on add over here. So make sure you're in the right folder here, and you can click on add, and you can click on upload files. All right. And that will bring up, then it'll say, what file do you want to add to this folder? All right. And then I would go and find it. Again, there's another way. I'll demonstrate another way. You can right click on the plan check 1 folder. And again, it says upload files, kind of like over there on add. I want to upload files. All right. And so again, same kind of menu, multiple ways to get it there. I'm going to click add. I'm going to click files. I'm going to go to my desktop where that PDF was saved. And this is the Nandine River project, right? Let's scroll down. Oh, sorry. Remember, I saved it as building corrections M Abbott right there. So it saved it to my desktop as that because I resaved it that. I titled it that, correct? So I'm going to open or double click on it and then click, and the users mark out. That's the location. That's the, what do you call it? The location of that. And so now you can see right here is that it's uploading. And there it is. And so now it is in that plan check one folder. All right. So I now have my comment letter in the plan check one folder. Previously, some of you were, maybe Terry took care of it. Oops. Or you were, let me jump back over quickly. Let me jump back over to the permit system here. Previously, some of you were using this document. Did it log me out? No. Yep. Let me log in. Previously, some of you were using the documents area. If I click on, if I find, I would, find the permit, or you know what, I can, hey, you know what I can do? I was going to ask me to log in again, but I go back to this email, right? Go back to this email that you were sent. Click on permit text for web. It's going to ask me to log in again. It doesn't remember it. But it will. But what this will do was it will go right to that plan check, right? So let me click cancel on that. And some of you were using, uploading your corrections or different documents to this documents tab. And so you can still do that, but you don't need to anymore. Now that you have access to Bluebeam, you can upload it right to that customer's folder, that plan check folder. All right. So, and then once Karen goes through Karen will get notified when all the plan checkers are done. And then she will, or the permit tech, I should say, Karen, there'll be another permit tech starting next week. The permit techs will click the button to send it back when all plan checkers are done, not just you. So if somebody calls you up and says, hey, why is my plan check not done? Well, there are other departments that still need to review it, right? So Karen takes care of that, and they get alerted when everyone's done. So let me undo checkout here. Undo checkout. That will erase everything there. I will come back and delete this file here because it doesn't need to be there. So we've gone over Bluebeam. We've uploaded a correction notice. You can actually upload if you have green sheets or any other green book, any other city standards you have, upload them here, and the customer will get that. Like maybe a correction would be see attached handout, see attached driveway approach handout. So if you uploaded that driveway approach handout here, they would get that file on the plan that you marked up. They would also see that note, and so they would get that back in their account. Once you're done with your plan check, your responsibility then is to come and result what you did, whether it's an approved or resubmit, right? Whether it has corrections or not. So you could do two things. One, you can come back to this email, click that button like we did, and it will, and I'll do that again, we'll log in, and it will take you right to where you need to put in your results. All right. It takes you right to the window. And now I showed you earlier, this is what the permit tech filled out here at the top, and this is what generated that email. But now at the bottom, your responsibility is here at the bottom are these three fields. And this bar tells you that you're responsible for these three. So the date returned is today. Or if you have need a calendar picker, maybe you did it yesterday, you can use the calendar picker to choose a date. And now I'm going to saying, yeah, give me if the date is specified, I need a plan checker. So I'm going to say me, if I'm here, okay, Mark, and this is a resubmit. And I'm going to click save. And you're done. And that is all you have to do. Oh, you know what? I picked the wrong file. Now Karen and Mark are getting an email saying that this one's done. I should have picked a different one, but anyway, I'll fix that. So now Karen and Mark are actually getting an email saying, "Hey, the plan checkers are done. Send this back to the customer." I shouldn't have done that one. Okay, so but that's all you have to do as a plan checker. That's what you're responsible for. You can use this email right as that to-do list, or if you say you lose this email, maybe the address, maybe the permit number. You can of course log into the permit system and click on find. This was whatever permit number 2021-1456, I think it was. Yeah. Nope. Is that the one? 1465. Find 2021-1465. There we go. Okay. And so you can come into the permit system and find these permits and get back here, right? And if you say, again, you also lose this email, so you don't have the Bluebeam, but you know the project, you know the address, you know something about it. You can find it again. So click on the find button, 9158, and I believe that was Nandine River, that one. Click find or hit return. And it found, actually, this is a good example. It found 2 permits. You see up here at the top, my find resulted in finding 2 records. Okay, so we're on record 1 of 2. If I use these arrows, there we go. So I found, I'm on now record 2. So it found 2. There's been 2 permits. When was this last one done? 2019. This is a 2019 permit. They did a pool demolition. So I now found the second record. You can, my point telling you all that was that if you've lost that email with that Bluebeam link, you can come into the permit system, come into the plan check tab, and there's right below that, there's a Bluebeam Studio project. Oh yeah, my browser's blocking, sorry. If you allow for pop-ups, allow for browsers, yep, open Bluebeam, and it opens it right again to that project. So I can demonstrate that. Let me remove that, delete this. You all don't have access to, let's see. Oh, I should be able to delete that. I'll figure it out later. Okay, so let me close all this, and I'll do that one more time. Close that, close that, close that, and then go back to permit. If I click on this Bluebeam link, open projects, yes, I want Bluebeam, allow Bluebeam, and it opens right there. So if you don't have that email, feel free to use the permit system to launch Bluebeam when you don't have it, when you don't have that link, right? Or if you need to launch an old project, right? If you need to go look at plans from an old project that was approved a while back, but you've deleted this email, and I don't know the retention. If the retention program is like a couple months, right? So probably emails are deleted off the server after being so long in your deleted box. You can always, again, come find that permit, go to plan check, and find open Bluebeam. One other place that if you click on the PDF here, the plans are also right here in this area. And so I think you all might have been using this area to download the plans previously. So you were coming into this area and downloading the plans this way. You can also download the plans this way. This is another way to quickly, it's taking its sweet time to load. It gives you a preview of that, but yeah, you can download them. You can what have you there. So I'm not sure why it's taking forever to load, but this is a preview. You don't necessarily need the preview, but I'll look into why it's taking so long to load. But this is another place to look at. This PDF is not the markup set, right? The markup set is over in Bluebeam. There it loads. So the markup set is over in Bluebeam. These are just the originals that were submitted. So don't come here expecting to look for the markups. The markups are over in Bluebeam. All right. And I'll delete this. So there we go. Okay. So yeah. So I covered I covered everything on Bluebeam. Covered the menus. Covered the markups. Covered the tools, covered getting a document back into the plan check. I still don't know why I can't. There it is. There's my delete button. I'm deleting if you have to delete a button, I don't believe you guys have the way your privileges are set. You don't have that ability. If you need to delete something for Bluebeam, you have to go to Derek or Karen to help you out. I believe you can try it out. Upload something, upload your first thing, and then just check it and see if you have that that delete kit. But yeah, I think your menu might look a little smaller here. You can't cut it. You can't cut stuff. You can't delete stuff, I don't believe. But you can download and, of course, check out stuff. So I'll delete that for the sake of confusion. This is an example. So everything in Bluebeam was there. Permit system. I think we went over that. You all will just be here's when you log in, you'll get the main menu. You'll click into permits, and then you'll come to the main permit screen. You really only need to. You guys won't have access to editing the permit. I think you all use XY maps. There's another little GIS map in here that just shows some basic owner data. Here's the find button. If you want to see, if you find an address, you can use this. There's a little arrow next to the find button, and this shows. You can click on that, and you can go, click on the related permits they're associated with this address. So that's what that little arrow does. Or you can simply use the find button and go into a find mode for that. And you're in find mode when all the data is removed, and that it's asking you what's the street name, street number. Click on find mode to get out of it if you accidentally did it. There's a Google map if you need it. So down here at the bottom, you have access to notes. If you need to add a touch point with a customer, you had a phone call that day or what have you, or you wanted to just document something on the permit, feel free to add any kind of notes you want. Inspections are geared for building. Plan check, you'll kind of live in this area, right? You'll live on this right side. You don't need to worry about what's going on the left, other than looking at other than looking at the plans. But your assignment will be over here on the right, and you saw me resulting that. The only other one you need to worry about is really documents. If you want to upload something here, feel free to. The documents are, of course, in Bluebeam, and so you have access to that in perpetuity forever. So you don't need to upload unless you want something here. Maybe for, I don't know, a contractor's, what do you call that? When a contract, an agent for the contractor comes in and gets a permit or submits some insurance information that you need, bond information that you want. This is a good place to put it. So that will really be, plan check, notes, documents is where you will keep most of your time, spend most of your time. So that I think about covers it. I seem to be getting longer and longer. Sorry, we're at 11:47. Any questions? Any questions? I don't think I've talked about it for you all in the main menu. We have the encroachment permits. I think I showed Terry and Regino this. We're working on this is now installed. Actually, maybe next week let's touch base and we'll start working through this, right? So we'll start working on this, and so you all have your encroachment permits and your transportation permits here in the permit system as well. And you'll be able to record inspections for those. I will. Good question. I will upload this to YouTube. I'll kind of upload it to my YouTube channel. I'll hide it, so you'll need the link. It won't be on my channel. It'll be hidden for. So it won't be for public consumption, because this training has been geared toward you guys. And yeah, feel free to share the link once I get it up there. Maybe I think I've said the same things in all the trainings, but maybe I'll upload one or two of I recorded one of the other trainings. So yeah, we'll get that uploaded to YouTube, and I'll send that link out to you guys. And I think that should do it. You guys have my phone number's been on. I put most of my phone numbers on those emails. And so feel free to call me. Derek is another great resource for Bluebeam. If you need to figure out how to do something, he's probably smarter than I am in some of the things. He's since when we launched this a couple years ago, You know, I didn't know much about it either, and so he spent a lot of time on YouTube. I can point you to Bluebeam's website. I think it's support.bluebeam.com, and they have get started, how to install. No, and explore by product. Let's do here. How to studio. No, let's see. So I always have to do. Let's just. I always do Bluebeam. I always have to do Bluebeam training videos. And that yeah, support. Oh, Bluebeam support / train. What's the URL? There it is. Bluebeam.com/training-videos. There are a ton of videos here that you can work through. These are all loaded on. They're all grouped by something, and these are all YouTube videos. So they all take you to. They're all loaded from YouTube. So I think your firewall doesn't block YouTube, but you can. What these videos, again, going back to these videos, are Bluebeam as a product that's used enormously by the AEC folks, and so a lot of these videos are. This video is probably 5 minutes long or so. Only a minute 30. But what we use it for as plan checkers, we only sometimes need like 20 seconds out of here, and some of these videos are awfully long. At like some could be, I've seen up like 8 minutes or so. This one's 5 minutes, and so you can. I kind of just skip through the videos to kind of find what you're looking for. They give you a lot of information that you don't need, but that's, and there's another guy Derek found on YouTube called like Burgers and Bluebeam. Again, what I showed you in the video is what I've showed you in this training are really the only features that you will need, but it can do a ton more. I didn't show you how to like overlay PDFs. If you have you can take one PDF and take a corrected PDF and take the new PDF and overlay it, and it'll show you the differences, right? Maybe they've made changes. Maybe you're saying they're submitting again, and you don't trust these people, and you think they've maybe made changes. You can overlay them, and Bluebeam will go through and find the changes that they've made, and they'll highlight them. I mean, it's a pretty neat program. So I didn't get into that, but you might need that, and if so, feel free to dive into some of these videos and take a look, or ask Derek or ask me, and I can do more training for you guys. So I think that's about it. It's lunchtime, so thanks everybody. If anybody has any last questions. If not, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and be glad to help you guys out.